I would also in the future love to get scarification done.
My number one thing that I've had on my wish list for years and years and years, scarification. I love the look of scarification. I'm so interested in the process of it and the different kinds of scarification that can be done.
I definitely want to get scarification one day. I just don't know what yet.
Scarification. I did something really cool last night. I finally booked an appointment to get scarification done. It was kind of on a whim, can't lie. This body mod artist I follow posted that they still had free slots in my city next week. I was like, hey, do you have time to fit me in? And they were like, yup. I just sent the deposit. So I have an appointment for next Tuesday. I'm shitting myself a little bit, but that is to be expected. I am going to take you along for the journey. I'm probably not going to film the process because I can't lie, looking at videos of scarification being done or like surgeries it makes me feel weird. It'll be fine in real life. I've seen plenty of shit like that. For some reason, I just can't watch it on video. I'm going to take you along. I'm very excited. I want to say like the first 2-3 weeks. We'll see. Maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit shorter. Yeah, I'm going to take you along. Welcome to this video. Don't mind the rollers. I know I look ridiculous. It is the night before the scarification and I'm just packing my bag and I thought I'd show you what I'm bringing. This isn't super different to what I bring to longer tattoo appointments, but you know, maybe someone wants to know. Obviously, money. I have a lot of shit in my bag anyway, as you've seen, but I'm also going to bring my water bottle. Of course, this is a Miffy face I drew on it and I need to touch it up because her mouth is gone. I'm also bringing 3 random Cliff Bars and I'm also bringing my Kindle. I'm so excited. I can't believe this thing that I wanted for I don't know how long, like years, is finally going to happen. And I really don't know what to do with myself. Maybe I'll see you before I leave if I wake up early enough. If I don't, I'll see you after. I'm about to leave for my appointment. This is the outfit. These are the shoes. I am nervous but excited. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel. Freaking out. Let's just a tiny bit. A tiny bit. This is after about 3 or 4 hours of getting the scarification done. This is the cling wrap that I was sent home with. As you can see, it bled a little bit and there was just like gunk and stuff. Completely in shock that I finally got this mod that I've wanted for years. I'm just patting it dry because it was like a lot of gunk. And then I hopped in the shower to clean and wash it with antibacterial soap. And now it is time for the first cleaning.
I'm so scared. I'm so fucking scared.
With hydrogen peroxide, as you can tell by my face. It was not pleasant. I'm going to show the cleaning routine a little more in depth in a little bit, but this was just like the first cleaning. I was so happy for it to be over. Also, I apologize for the lighting being really terrible the first couple of days. I didn't think about bringing like an extra light into the bathroom with me to film this. This is day 2. I left it completely unwrapped. And this is the cleaning routine. Again, so excited for the hydrogen peroxide. I just washed my scar with antibacterial soap and water before this, and then I would pat it dry and then pat it down with hydrogen peroxide. This thing with the Q-tips here, I saw someone on Reddit recommend to like get into all the little nooks and crannies. I did not do this every time I cleaned it. I also don't think I did it very often, but just to be like, you know, thorough and get it in like every crack. And then I poured the rest of my peroxide on top, and it was bubbly and white and it stung really bad. And here I am cleaning out the gunk with super, super clean tweezers, which is like the least fun part of the entire thing because it just took for fucking ever. Washed out the peroxide again and I left it. I used a combination of the Aftercare that my mod artist recommended and Russ Fox's Aftercare that he has like described on his website. I'm going to link that in the description box if you would like to see. This is where I started wrapping it. I used that camo bandage for like the first day and then switched to a sock I cut up because it was easier.
It is the evening of day 4 and I finally found some time to sit down and yap a little bit about everything that's been going on so far. I think I'm just going to go in order of things I have written down. Aftercare is brutal. Now, I did my research. I knew what I was getting into. I've been researching scarification and its different forms and the aftercare and everything for years at this point, for years. But I don't think I fully realized until like the first couple of times having to actually go through with the aftercare. Like getting the scarification done itself, surprisingly, really was not anywhere near as bad as I personally had feared. I tend to expect any kind of mod, whether it's a piercing, getting a tongue split, a tattoo in a certain area, scarification, to always be a little worse than it ends up being. I don't like psych myself out on purpose or anything. I will admit I do go into most mods, especially stuff I haven't gotten done before, with like a decent amount of being nervous. And so far, I think the only time it was actually worse than I expected or feared it to be was when I got the back of my knee tattooed, or like the side of my knee. But other than that, it's always been like very much okay. Same with the scarification. The process of getting it done really wasn't that bad. It really just kind of feels like how you'd imagine you get cut up with a scalpel. That is just how it feels. It feels exactly the way you would think. I've told a couple of people that it feels kind of like getting line work tattooed, but without the vibration of the machine, and like kind of sharper and a little bit more scrapey is the best way I can put it. But it really just feels like getting cut with a scalpel. For me, the procedure itself took about 2 hours, I want to say. 1.5, 2 hours. But, the big but, the aftercare, the way I do it and the way that I was recommended to do it, / the way I'd kind of made it up in my mind already when I booked the appointment that I was going to do it, because again, like years and years of research. The aftercare, the way that I do it, is somewhat time consuming, which is one part that kind of annoys me about it, because I would so much rather be doing literally anything else. But it is also brutal. I try to stick to the 3 times a day for like quote unquote best results, basically reopening the wound 3 times a day, every day for about 2 to 3 weeks. And that is not fun. And I knew I was in for that and I was going to have to do that for best results. But it didn't really click until I was standing in the bathroom. I had taken off the cling film and I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to pour peroxide on this. Oh, I genuinely felt like I was going to throw up the first time I had to wash my wounds. I also have in my notes, first cleaning, brutal, death, hell, etc. For my second cleaning, I stopped taking cleaning notes after the second cleaning. I wrote much less awful. Peroxide the second time around though, oof, broken heart emoji. It is very fun when it bubbles and fizzes slow and then it's all nice and clean and you can see the flesh. Iconic for real, which yes, absolutely iconic. And then I, last night, just to see what would happen, put Vaseline over it and wrapped it in cling film overnight so I wouldn't get Vaseline everywhere, just to like help keep it from drying out, which helps it to not form a scab so that you have like less to scrape out of your wound in the morning. And I've been kind of liking it, so I'm doing it again tonight, which is why I have a sock on my arm. There's the cling film underneath, but the cling film on its own leaks and moves because it is on my elbow. It's not like an ideal spot. I just have a sock on my arm with cling film and Vaseline underneath. Am I forgetting anything? I don't know. I'll see you tomorrow for a check-in.
This was the second full day of having it wrapped. This is before cleaning. I just had like a layer of Vaseline and then my cling film and then, like I said, the sock on top of it just to keep the cling film from unraveling. You can see it's like not as super grotesque looking anymore, but it's still very much an open wound. I think like around day 9 is where you can really see a difference from day to day for the first time. It just looks a lot more healed. I don't know how to describe it. I will say, as annoying as the whole aftercare process was, my skin, at least in this area, has never been smoother and softer. Maybe I should start slathering my entire body in Vaseline all day, every day, 24/7. This is when I properly saw the silver skin forming for the first time, which is like, you can see it right at the very top. It's just a really thin layer of skin and it's really shiny, and I was so excited at this point. I was almost done with the wrapping and the really intense aftercare as well. This was my last day of having it wrapped, so we hit the 2-week mark, and I cannot tell you how fucking happy I was. This was the first day of it being like fully unwrapped, and you can tell it looks very closed. I don't know how else to put it. I am very excited to see how the really fine lines heal, because my mod artist did say they weren't sure if the really fine lines were going to stick around, and you can see on like the middle one, the fine lines have nearly disappeared. So we'll see.
It is day 17 post scarification. So I figured it was about time I kind of sit down and do a little yapping in between. It's now the 3rd day of not having it wrapped, and I have some things to talk about. So during what I'm going to call the cling film era, there wasn't like too much to note, except the aftercare was very annoying to me personally, because I'm the kind of person for tattoos and piercings to just like not do too much. Like my approach is very leave it the fuck alone. So washing, agitating, wrapping, all that stuff 3 times a day was like a lot for me. Every time of those 3 was like at least 10-15 minutes, which I know isn't a lot, but when you have to do it 3 times a day, every day for like 2 weeks, it gets tedious. It was annoying and time consuming. That was like the main thing. Other than that, I did film a little update every day, so you're going to see like the progress. I think around like the week-ish mark, like day 8 maybe, is when it started like closing up isn't the right word, but when like the peroxide stopped bubbling when I applied it, that's kind of when I noticed it being like less of a gap, because you know, this is like carved out from my skin. There were strips of skin that were removed, there were gaps, and those filled out. And it's just like filled up more over time, obviously, because that is how wound healing works. Other than that, the only thing was that I got some pimples. You can still kind of see the remnants, I guess. I got some pimples here-ish, which I will put down to my skin not being able to breathe, with like the whole thing being wrapped up in Vaseline and cling film, you know, every day for like 2 weeks. So I feel like that's kind of a normal response from my skin. So now that I've taken off the cling film and it is the 3rd day of no like extensive aftercare and just kind of letting it be, what I have noticed is that the skin around it and the scar itself is extremely dry. It's also dry like on the other side of where the scar is. So I'm going to put that down to my skin having adapted to being like smothered in Vaseline all day, every day, and just kind of trying to rebalance. But it is like super, super dry. I do use a body oil and the rest of my skin isn't dry. It's literally just like this bit. So it's probably got something to do with that. It doesn't hurt. I think it stopped like hurting again around like the week mark. Then I could like lean on things with it, obviously covered. Between day 7 and 10 is when it like stopped being like really painful, you know, like obviously it's a big wound, it's going to be painful, blah blah blah. And then it did start itching around like day 12, but now that I've taken the cling wrap off, it stopped again. So maybe that was like sweat in the cling film, because that's also when it started getting hot again. So I don't really know if that's like healing related or external factors related, but it could be like a combination of both, because now it's not itching anymore. I know it's going to start itching at one point, and I've heard it doesn't stop for a while, so can't wait for that. That's going to be great. The main difference I've noticed, besides the skin around it being kind of dry, is that the scar is like firm. It's almost hard and kind of tight, which is like, those are all normal signs of like wound healing, so I'm not like worried about it. I'm trying to find a comparison, but like I can't. It's a little bit like when you flex a muscle, but it's only when you press directly on the scar is when you feel it. The skin around it, like in some lights, is kind of dark and yellowish, which again, just wound healing. My tattoos look like that as well at around the week 2 week mark. It's nothing abnormal. I'm not worried about it. Do I have anything else? You can still feel like a difference in depth between the normal skin and the scarf, which like obviously, I think that's it. The only other thing I have written down is that I'm so happy I don't have to do my really intense aftercare anymore, which yeah, duh. I hated that shit. So this is going to be your day 17 update.
I know I just talked about it being kind of dry, but in like the next couple of clips, so over the course of the next, I think it was like 5-ish days, you can really see it like progressively getting more and more dry. Not necessarily the scar itself, but more like the skin around it and like the big area of intact skin inside the tooth. Here you can see it really, really well. And the like 2 or 3 older scars I have in this area are just becoming more and more prominent, I think, both because the skin is so dry and because of like the healing going on around it, because sometimes fresh scars healing affects all the scars around them. It is very, very dry here, and I think it was just like my body still trying to figure out what to do, because it had just been in Vaseline for 2 weeks, basically trying to rebalance itself. Also, watching this video back, it really is proof that I wear the same like 3 shirts all the fucking time. I think really from about day 20 onwards, aside from my skin being dry, there's not that many visible changes going on. You can really see the difference between it being freshly moisturized and it having been a couple hours, because this was right out of the shower. The last couple of days I kind of forgot to film and I just kind of woke up in a state of panic and recorded those clips at like 2 a.m.
Hello, this is going to be my last update for this video. It is day 29, so it's been a full 4 weeks of having my tooth. Let me show you so I don't forget. Towards the end, so I want to say the last 4 or 5 days, I did notice that my scar was starting to visibly change again a little bit, because it went from like obviously a deep wound being, you know, I can't think of the word, concave. Is that it? And then it filled up slowly because my body was making scar tissue. And then it just kind of stopped and was flat for like the first half of week 4. Something like that. And then the last couple of days, I've noticed it's starting to change again a little bit and it like becoming more raised. I'm pretty sure it's going to keep getting more and more raised over the next, I don't know, maybe days, maybe weeks. I will continue taking photos and videos, tippy tapping, writing things down in my notes app. I will be making an update video at some point down the line, probably like around the 6 months or year mark, you know, once things visibly change. Don't know when that's going to be. For this video, this is the last update. I'm super excited to see how it's going to keep healing, how it's going to look 3 months down the line, 6 months, in a year, because that is the beauty of scarification. You just never know how your body's going to heal, and I'm very excited to find out. And I think that's it. This is the end of this video. This video got kind of long. We all know I have a tendency to yap and over-explain things, and just all my videos are long. Thank you for hanging out with me anyway and listening to me yap and watching my scar heal. Let me know if you would ever get scarification, or if you have scarification. I would love to see it. If there's anything that you would like to know about or that I forgot to cover, please do let me know in the comments, because at the end of the day, I do have a goldfish brain. So if you enjoy these types of videos, please let me know by liking this video and maybe even consider subscribing if you would like to see more from yours truly. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!